Hello all, this is Halloween, and if you love haunted history and cemeteries as much as I do, you may want to subscribe because I'm going to be taking you somewhere new every week. This episode was actually meant to be aired right after my first Pensacola episode, but life happened and things got strange for a week, and so I went ahead and released my Mobile, Alabama episode where we went to the Magnolia Cemetery and visited the USS Alabama battleship. Let's go ahead and get into it. So today's episode will be a little bit different. I just wanted to tell you a few things. If you are traveling to Pensacola on a trip or vacation or whatever, it's a beautiful place to visit. It has beautiful beaches, and believe it or not, it's a real food destination. But something to know before traveling to Pensacola is that it is America's oldest city. Now, there is talk that St. Augustine is the oldest city. Anywhere you go, people might think that, and tourists travel there all year round, every single year, wanting to witness the oldest city, and as a matter of fact, it isn't. Spanish settlers had settled in Pensacola as early as 1559, and what had happened was they were settled there for a little while, but resources started to get scarce, and they were kind of really struggling to survive for some reason in that area. And then a hurricane came in and really wiped it out. They actually settled first, 1559. And then while they were trying to rebuild it as an established city, St. Augustine was already being built and was established in 1565. So it at that point became the oldest established city. However, Pensacola was the first location to experience Spanish settlers, and it was the first to really have inhabitants in the state of Florida. So, just so you know, a little history about Pensacola, and you can be sharp when you go there and you're all chit-chatting with the bartenders or whatever, you'll know that Pensacola is actually the oldest city. What I also didn't know is that it's a great food destination. So if you love food, you're a foodie like me and my husband are, you will love going to Pensacola. There's so many good places to eat, but the top ones, in our opinion, there was a German restaurant called Bavaria. It has great beers, a great little bartender. I think her name was Lola. And I actually talked about her a little bit in my previous Pensacola episode. And they have great, authentic German food, really good German beer, and it's a really nice atmosphere. If you want to go and hang out there, they even have a pizza that kind of shares the space with them, a pizza parlor that has a brick oven style pizza. You can go there and have pizza as well if you like, because they serve both sides of the restaurant. So very cool. La Barra Tacos is just outside of downtown. It's going to be on the Navy Boulevard Strip in Pensacola. It is phenomenal Mexican cuisine. Very authentic. They serve a consomme with their tacos that you can dip the tacos in. They have all of it. El Pastor, they have cow tongue tacos, they have all the meats, beef, chicken, pork, and then you've got your cow tongue, your El Pastor, and it was just really incredible. And they have a really great atmosphere too, so you might want to check them out. You're going to want to eat brunch at some point at the Ruby Slipper. The Ruby Slipper is New Orleans style cuisine, and they're best known, I guess, for their brunch because there's a line out the door for the Sunday brunch, and we went there for brunch and we had to wait about an hour. But the great news is that there's a place called The Garden pretty much neighboring them, right next door, and it's kind of a caravan of food trucks, and the food trucks are set up inside of an Airstream camper. So it's like a row of Airstreams, and they're all different cuisine. There's a Peruvian place in there. There's a taco place, a Thai place. It's definitely another location where you're going to want to eat. And while we were waiting for our table at the Ruby Slipper, we headed over there because they do have a bar in the back, and we just grabbed a Bloody Mary while we were waiting for our table. But when we went in, we had an amazing brunch. My husband had like a Benedict trio, and I had one of their Benedicts there, and it was just awesome. Very good. Their Bloody Marys in there were very good. It was just a really great place to go and have brunch. It's just packed, which is a good sign. You don't want to go somewhere where nobody's there, because that's not a good sign. So it was really an awesome food experience for us as far as that goes. And the garden, getting back to the garden, so you have these rows of food trucks, and we actually did finally eat there on our last day. My husband had the cuisine from the Peruvian truck, and I actually had cuisine from the Thai truck. It was a Korean barbecue, like Philly cheesesteak ensemble. It was fusion cuisine, basically. But it was very, very, very good. For the breweries there were only two. Odd Colony, which was rather odd. It was beautifully decorated inside. It was like exactly how you would want a brewery to look when you're going in there to chill and have a couple beers. So we went inside there, and I was just like, I loved the way it looked. The colors. It actually had bones, like real animal bones for the tap handles. And that was really cool, I thought. And vintage furniture. It was vintage furnished, and it was just really pretty. It was really unique and a nice atmosphere in there. However, the bartenders were very cold. They didn't do a lot of talking. There was not a warm, inviting feeling when we went in there. The beers were pretty good, but we kind of like the whole package when we go to our brewery. Like good bartenders. We like to shoot the shit. We're traveling, we want to talk to them and see where all the good places are to eat and whatnot. And this was not a place where you could go and just talk to the bartenders. So we didn't really love that part. And they were playing some sort of like acid jazz music that was just kind of putting us to sleep. If you want to go to a great brewery in Pensacola, you're going to go to Perfect Plain. Perfect Plain Brewery had the whole package. They had live music playing outside. They had really good music playing inside, like modern, like alternative music, and it was just fun. The atmosphere was lively and inviting and very friendly. The bartenders were awesome. So you're going to want to go to Perfect Plain. You can visit Odd Colony too if you want. I mean, they had pretty good beers, but it's not a place. It's kind of morose to stay there all night. you might get depressed or something, So those were the two breweries. Both really good beers, but just one took the cake as far as personality and atmosphere and just being a lively and friendly environment. Where we stayed at in Pensacola was the Victorian Inn Bed and Breakfast, and it was beautiful, just like all the other Victorian bed and breakfasts we've stayed at. We've stayed at many because most of the time those are the places that are haunted, and that is where I want to stay. So, but this one was really beautiful, just as all the others. Wood floors, wooden banisters on the wooden staircases, and multi-level. It was just beautiful. When we first arrived there, we were the only ones at the bed and breakfast staying. We arrived on a Thursday. People started getting there around Friday. So we kind of had an opportunity to explore a little bit and look around, and with nobody else really there to bother us. And then people started coming in around Friday. The story behind the Victorian Inn is that it dates back to the 1890s when it was built as a single-family home by ship captain William Northup. And William Northup had a daughter. And the innkeeper had actually told us that the daughter passed away at a very young age. She ended up burning her foot somehow and getting an infection that kind of spread to her blood and everything, and it got real bad, and she ended up dying from the infection caused by the burn in her foot. So Ever since that young girl passed away in the home, there has been spiritual activity. Prior guests have mentioned seeing a lady in Victorian clothing that haunts the building. Some guests have heard children at play or children's voices and things like that. Many times orbs have been caught on the staircase. People would catch orbs on their camera. And guests have also reported smelling breakfast being cooked long before it's even being cooked. As you know, it's a bed and breakfast. They do serve breakfast every morning. It's homemade there in-house. It's actually a really nice little breakfast that they serve. But all of these things have happened to guests in the history of the inn. There's even video footage online. If you go on YouTube and look up the Victorian Inn in Pensacola, you can watch guest experiences. There's this one video where there's a lamp turning on and off by itself and just different things like that. Kind of like small, little innocent little things that happen within the inn. Nothing malevolent, nothing dark. I go in always as a skeptic, because if you're not skeptic, even though I'm an enthusiast, I'm kind of a paranormal enthusiast, I'm also a skeptic, because if you don't have that little bit of skepticism when you go into these environments, then you think everything is haunted or you think everything is paranormal. Pareidolia, for example, is a phenomenon where when you look up into the clouds, I'm sure you've done this before when you were little or young, you probably still even do it now, where you look up into the clouds and you see a dog or a cat or a face even. Look at a tree and it looks like something. It looks like a person or something like that. That's pareidolia. It's basically creating an image in your mind that you see that's not what it is. But it's the phenomena of natural things like trees and clouds and, grass and shrubs, creating an image that you see in your mind or even capture on photo that's not really anything but natural phenomenon. So, but yeah, if I didn't have that bit of skepticism, I would probably think everything was a ghost. So I do go into everything with skepticism and I rule everything out. That said, we did have some experiences while we were at the inn ourselves. For example, we had heard about this young girl from the innkeeper. I was like, curious to know who haunts the building, and she believed it to be the young girl. She told us about some of these other experiences as well that guests had had in the past. Naturally, I was curious and I wanted to try a little something. So I had this great idea. Of course, I was so tired because it's a walking city. We'd been walking all day long and we got back to the inn and I wanted to just go to bed. And I was like, I'm going to set my alarm for 3 a.m., kind of like the witching hour, and then get up and take some photographs of like the staircase, and I'll go downstairs. I had this great idea, but I did set my alarm and I woke up at 3 a.m. and I did take some photographs, but I didn't capture anything. But I was so tired, I was like, I'm not doing this, and I just went back to bed. When I went back to bed that night, I had a dream. And this could be totally just the spontaneous fulfillment of desire. I want to see a ghost so bad that I am projecting these desires in my dreams. That could very well be the case. But I did have a dream where I was sleeping in the inn in my dream. And I felt the touch of a hand, a small hand, cold hand on my arm, which woke me out of my sleep. In my dream, I'm still dreaming. It was just a blue colored, translucent child's hand touching my arm. And in my dream, I took the hand and kind of held it in my hand, just in awe of the experience. And after that, kind of the dream just ended. It was over. This could have been totally bogus just because I want to see a ghost so bad. Or it could have perhaps been a visitation. I don't really know, and I never will know. But it was just something that happened, and I thought I would mention it in this video. Another thing that happened was we were having some experiences with our towels. So the very next morning, I get up and I go to take a shower. So I brought a towel in with me and placed it on the toilet seat so that when I got out, it would be right there. My husband was waiting for me to get dressed, waiting for me to take my shower, and he went down for coffee, came back up, and I was ready to get out of the shower. Well, I opened the shower curtain. My towel wasn't there. So I said, "Hey, what did you do with my towel?" And my husband's like, "I didn't take your towel. It's sitting over here where you put it, on top of the luggage." And it was like neatly placed across our luggage. Like someone had taken it and just placed it neatly across our luggage. I didn't do that. I put it on the toilet so it'd be there when I got out. It was cold, you know, I didn't want to be cold when I got out of the shower. And then as I'm getting ready, he goes down to get another cup of coffee, and he sees towels just thrown onto the staircase. Like somebody had chucked them over the banister and threw them onto the stairwell. And he goes down to get his coffee. He sees this, and he tells the innkeeper, "Do you know there's towels on the staircase?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, I think the guests in the other room threw them down there." It's like, but why would they do that? Why would a guest at an inn just throw their towels onto the staircase? It just didn't make any sense. So that could have been a little something. And then one other phenomenon that we did experience there. We were going out in the evening, and as we were leaving, we smelled a very strong perfume, like a women's perfume. Did not smell like fabric softener or laundry being done or anything like that. It smelled like women's perfume, like it smelled like flowers. And they do have flowers there, but they're not real fragrant. I went and looked closely at these flowers, took pictures of them even. So there was this really strong floral odor of a lady's perfume. That scent followed us all the way to the corner. So those are some of the things that happened while we were at the inn. Were they paranormal? I don't really know. I'm not going to say that they were or that they weren't, but they were definitely unique. It was a unique experience, and I highly recommend staying at the Victorian Inn in Pensacola. And if you do travel over there, I hope that I've enlightened you on some really cool things. Oh, I wanted to tell you one more thing. If you like to go to shops and look at souvenirs or just go shopping when you travel, because I always love to, you're not going to find pretty much any stores on Palafox. There's one store for souvenirs, and it's very small, and it's in that garden area where the food trucks are. As far as the rest, there's one or two more, and they're very expensive, and it's like a cooking place, kind of like a Williams-Sonoma almost, but it's all cooking stuff, and it's really expensive. And then there's another one that's got like souvenir type stuff, and it's really expensive, but you will want to visit the lady in the garden. She's got a little shop, and she handcrafts all of her own earrings. I'm actually wearing some now. Oh, a little fleur-de-lis for Mardi Gras. She has magnets, she has ornaments, she has all of that. But if you really want to go shop, you're going to want to go to Navy Boulevard and check out, there's like 5 or 6 antique shops, and they're all really big and they're awesome. So that's where you're going to want to do your shopping. They also have the largest record store in Pensacola on Navy Boulevard. So check those out if you're interested. That does it for today's episode. Hope you enjoyed it. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share on your way out, and I'll see you next time.